Well, good morning. Welcome back to Splitwood. It is a whopping 35 freedom degrees here today. It's a bit chilly. You can tell I got the beanie on. Go dogs. And we've got a few different things to do today. And I'm not really sure how to handle them. I'm going to have to just jump right in, so there won't be a long introduction. But I will tell you kind of some of the things that did happen. So yesterday, you all saw the video of me pulling on the saw and breaking that. So we did a lot of brush hogging. And at one point, right when I finished, I noticed when I kicked on the brush hog for like just to cut a little bit of grass, that I didn't hear the brush hog come on. And sure enough, I had my first little tractor issue. The issue was the bolt that connects the drive shaft to the gearbox on the brush hog itself. Well, when I got off the tractor to look, I saw a nut sitting there on the deck of the brush hog. And then after a little bit more looking around, I saw the bolt sitting there. And sure enough, I put two and two together. I was able to figure out where they came from, and I got them. And I was actually able to get them back on. And I did, only to realize I probably should replace this bolt because the threads are a little bit buggered up. I can't actually tighten it up beyond that point right there. So I thought, well, I'll just go get another one. So I went and picked up a grade 8 bolt with a nylock nut this time instead of just a regular nut, in hopes of once that's tightened down on there, she won't loosen up. Next, we're going to install a GPS device on the tractor. So this will allow us to see the tractor no matter where it is in the world. So if someone comes onto our property and steals our tractor, we will be able to track it. So we'll put that on there. Anyone who's probably been around any heavy equipment or rental equipment or farms, I mean, you've probably heard of theft of equipment and tractors and that sort of thing. These compact tractors are a big item, I guess, for theft. And since in the past we've had problems with theft on the property, I wanted to go ahead and put something on here that'll be able to track it. Anyway, so I got to jump into it. Let's get to work. I'm going to start on the deck first. Okay, so the bolt that we need to replace is right there. And I've actually got it kind of lined up a little bit already. You can see there, it's not exactly lined up, but I'll fix that a little bit and then we'll get it going. Well, that went in easy. This drive always gives me, this ratchet always gives me a little bit of problems. It kind of like wants to stick kind of either way. Look, now it's spinning either way loose. Anyway, it's always giving me a little bit of problems. That's why it's on my, it's not in my toolbox. Now we're doing it. I'm not exactly sure how tight this is supposed to be as far as like a poundage, so I'm gonna just tighten it up pretty tight because it's a half 13, so it should be able to take some pretty serious torque. All right, that thing is on there. Okay, so the GPS module that I'm going to put on here is this little guy right here, pretty small, and it is a Optimus GV75MG. So Golf Victor 75 Mike Golf. That's what this is. It was about $50 on Amazon, and then there's a $12 monthly subscription. It comes with like a little wiring harness, which is nice, so you can clip that in, and a fuse. There is a fuse on the power, if you can see that. Well, you can do that. And there's a lot of wires right here. And that stressed me out a little bit. Like, oh my gosh, how am I going to wire all this in? There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 wires to wire up to make this thing work. And I'm not lying, folks. I've read the instructions, and I've looked at a few different installation videos on YouTube. And even the instructions straight from Optimus say the only 2 wires you need to connect are the red and the black, the power and the ground. I believe it said the white, I think it was the white or the yellow, I can't remember, is if you wanted to hook it up to ignition or something like that, maybe in your car or maybe your tractor or something like that. But even if you do that, there's some setting changes you have to make inside of this. So their recommendation is just the 2 wires. So I'm not sure why this harness has all these extra wires, but it's just 2 wires, power and ground, that's it. And the power can be hooked up to anything from 8 volts to 32 volts. That's kind of cool, and you don't have to tell it which. It just will automatically adjust to it. So pretty awesome. Okay, so the battery is right here, and that would obviously be a very quick solution if I wanted to just run the GPS power to right there, and then maybe find a ground nearby. So let's look at doing that and seeing if we can disguise it so that it isn't obvious to someone. Hey, just disconnect this, and then the GPS is turned off. Yeah, it looks like there's the red boot over the top of that, plus a little bit of a wiring harness behind that. So I think maybe I can feed my power right through all of that, connect up to the battery. That should make this a very simple installation. And then all I need to do is figure out where I'm going to mount the GPS to. And then we'll attach this one onto there. Okay, looks like we got another good connection. These other wires won't be needed on this wire harness, so we'll ignore those. We'll end up taping them up, and I do have some I picked up a few zip ties, so we'll also zip tie everything up. I use some black electrical tape and wrap the whole thing up, try to make it look stock. Okay, what you can see here now is that I've run the wire, so this goes down through the little grommet, up and then through the boot, and then out the side of the boot, and then we're pinched down underneath here for this connection. So then once the boot is back in place, this should hide it, right? Now the red part's sticking out, but what we'll do is we'll wrap some tape around that and kind of try to conceal it a little bit better, okay? So I'll show you that once we're done. Okay, well, after a couple of hours of installing, I had it completely installed, everything hidden, you know, for the most part, as best as I could. You couldn't really see any of the wiring. You could see this device, but anyway, after all of that, it doesn't power on. So lesson learned, I probably should have tested it before I went through all the trouble of installing it and running back and forth to the store and getting the clips that I was going to need to connect it all, you know, and wasting my time. I should have done that. But anyway, hey, listen, I wanted to at least share that because you know what? Things go wrong. Things happen. It doesn't just happen to you. It happens to YouTubers and to everybody else. So I'll have to reach back out to them about getting this thing returned. And, you know, why did they send me a defective device? And I wonder if I can bill them for my time. Y'all see those rings in there? Not a real old tree. Cute. Oh, beautiful. Beautiful. I may save this this chunk of wood, maybe see if I can do something with it. Pretty awesome.
Ashes to the sea, and may the gift of your tomorrow does your heart have to say? What songs you don't play? What you gonna sing today? And if I leave this world before you, throw my ashes to the sea, and may the gift of your tomorrows hold warm memories of me.
A lot of people told me that the saw I bought was way too small to do what I just did. And I don't know if you guys heard it, but I mean, it had no problems cutting that tree whatsoever. I think it's, maybe inexperienced people maybe need a more powerful saw. I'm not going to claim to be a lumberjack or a woodsman or anything like that. I've cut a lot of trees down. And I'm not great at it, in all honesty, but I can run a saw and not get it, wedged up or caught up, that sort of thing. I've done it before, but, so I bought a small saw because I want two saws, right? I knew if I bought a large saw, I would never buy a smaller saw, because then why would you want a small saw? You just want a small saw so that you can, do less work. It's not so hard on you when you're limbing out or, something like that. I mean, that's so much easier with a small saw, right? It doesn't take a whole lot of time. This is a cedar tree with about 1 million branches on it. And it took me a little bit of time, took me longer than it should have because I ran out of gas. But, it's so much easier with a smaller saw. But, so I said that was number one reason. I knew, I think I mentioned, I knew if I got a big saw first, I wouldn't buy a small saw. But secondly, part of doing this channel, right? Part of Splitwood is doing things on a budget, right? A $300 saw, well, $280 saw, right? It just dropped a 30-foot cedar, right? And I don't know how large that is at the base, but it's a pretty decent sized tree, right? And we limbed it all out, and now we've got a beam that we can use that will help us to build something, right? Build a shelter maybe for the tractor. That's what we're doing this for. You don't have to go and spend $1,200 on a saw, right, people? I mean, we don't need to do this. So that was another reason, right? I wanted to kind of keep it budget. I didn't want to go crazy, right? So that's just all right. Well, like I said, I'm gonna be lazy. I'm gonna hook the truck up to this joker right here. I'm gonna tow it all the way back. It's getting late. I think you all can see that the sun is set. So we're gonna go and get this beam drug up towards the front, and then from there, I'll just walk back. I'll get the tractor. We'll put it away, and we'll head home. This has been a lot of fun. I love this type of activity. I don't know if y'all do. I don't know if y'all like just watching it, or if you dream of someday doing it. I have personally wanted my own property for a very long time. And I'll be honest, I had other plans in my life because I thought the property thing was it was something that wasn't going to happen for me, right? And I let my mind go to a bad place, and I started to, doubt that it would ever happen. Especially here. I mean, I'd always been looking at other properties, but I loved this property. Even with all of its shortcomings, with all the trash, with all the other stuff, right? I have a vision of what it can become, right? And that's an important thing. So if you're going to buy property, it's important. I think Dave Whipple says it on his channel. If you haven't watched Bush Radical, go watch Bush Radical. Dave is awesome. He makes just amazing videos. I love watching his stuff. I can just sit around and just chill and watch his videos. They're amazing. But he makes mention that he and his wife, when they go and look at a property, they have to have a feeling, right? There has to be, some sort of feeling when they walk onto it, and that's hard to describe until you do it, right? Until you walk out onto a piece of property, and get that feeling, you just can't describe it to another person, right? Dave is got a much bigger vocabulary than I do, and he's really talented, and even he says it's just a feeling, right? So I say all that to say, that you don't let your mind go to that place of doubt that it won't ever happen for you, right? Pray, that's number one, right? Everything needs to be God's will, right? Everything, right? God's will first, okay? Even Jesus prays the night before he's crucified. He prays to God to take this away from me, right? But he finishes, but not my will, your will, right? So we always need to pray and ask for what we want, what we need. God knows what we need. He knows what you want. It's important you ask, right? But make sure you always finish those with, but not my will, your will, right? It's a timing thing, right? I mean, years ago, I may not have been in the best place to be able to do split wood. Okay? So that's number one. Pray about it. I prayed about that tractor for a long time. I did. And I in and out of it a bunch of times. So that's number one. Number two is, don't believe that it's never going to happen. Okay? You have to have a positive attitude. You've got to believe, right? God will provide. He knows what we need. He knows the desires of your heart. Follow him. He'll give you those things. I promise. He'll find a way, right? It's easy for him, right? It's not hard. So do that. But then go out, explore, right? Find property. There, you can look places that I used to look. Okay, Craigslist. You can find for sale by owner properties on Craigslist. You can find owner finance. If you got bad credit, you can find owner financed land. Okay, people who will finance it themselves. They're probably well-off people, you know, and maybe the interest rate won't be the greatest. Don't get caught up in all of that. Okay, make sure it's affordable. Don't do the wrong thing. Make sure you've prayed about it, right? Make sure you're listening. Don't just jump into things. Okay, but there's things out there that you can, you know, find as far as, you know, for sale by owners. You can find, and I like that the best. I think even Dave mentions that he likes for sale by owners, because the minute you start to get realtors involved, everybody's looking for the maximum price, right? Because the realtor makes a commission based off of sales price, so they want that price to be as high as possible, right? I feel weird talking to you in a hard hat. Anyway, but we should do a whole big video on that. You know what? I'm going to cut this off, but you know, so there's lots of different things. You can look on Craigslist. You can look on Facebook Marketplace. You know, I would probably stay away from all the realtor type places, you know, if you're really on a budget. Yeah. You can also say, listen, I mean, if you are really locked into your job, you get a great job, you love it, right? Decide how far you're willing to drive. Yeah. Okay. And then get out, buy a hard copy map, or, you know, really learn to use Google Maps or Google Earth or whatever, and draw you a circle around your work, right? That's 45 minutes drive, 60 minutes drive, whatever it's going to be, right? And it probably wouldn't go much beyond 60 minutes, you know, but then just start exploring, right? You can pie that thing out and just spend lots of time exploring everywhere around in there, right? Start figuring out the counties, start looking up stuff for sale in those areas, start targeting Craigslist into that area, start targeting, you know, Facebook into that area, right? So that you can start finding those properties. And then you can get onto, I think it's called Q Public or something like that. And you can, you know, start to look up and see if there's abandoned property. You can even knock on people's doors, even though that's a little weird nowadays, but, you know, do whatever you got to do, right? If it's your dream, don't stop. Yeah. So you figure that part out. Knock on people's doors if you have to, but deep dive into it. You know, start figuring out who's the owner. The owner can be found on, you know, like the Q Public websites, right? So you can look up all the tax records on a piece of property, right? You can find out if it's delinquent. You can find out how big it is. You can get a plot map of it. You can really, you know, figure this whole thing out. Okay, if it's your dream, chase it. Right? Okay. I'm probably gonna edit all that out, and we'll do another video some other time. But I want to thank you all for tuning in, for watching. This was a lot of fun. I hope it was fun to watch. You know, I'm going to have a lot more videos coming, you know, as we progress in this. Things aren't happening quite as fast as I want them to in certain areas. The tractor's got me a little distracted because I want to do other things that are cool with it. But anyway, but again, just let's get back to it. Thank you so much for watching. Please remember to like, you know, hit that thumbs up, subscribe. Please share with other people. If you know somebody else who might watch it or might enjoy our channel, please, you know, send it to them. You know, send them a link. It's awesome. Look at that view. Can y'all see that? So cool. This property is so neat. It's got such a great view that way. There's a great view this way. We got to clean it up the other way, but it's gonna be fun. Y'all, thanks. See you next time.